I am here with Adeem the Artist. Their album from last year is Cast Iron Pansexual, and the first song you heard today is I Never Came Out. So, obviously, given the content of this song, I'm assuming, and also the title of the album, I'm assuming you did at some point take the leap. When were you finally able to come to the point where you were able to come out?
Yeah, I mean, in many ways the song acted as that moment, I think. I mean, obviously, like, my partner, my wife, and my close friends had known that about me for a while, but it was something that I never really explored in my music, like, very explicitly. And just, the pandemic was like a lot of downtime to kind of ruminate on things, and I just thought, well, this is something I should write about.
So, in the song, you talk about the fact that even if in the past you'd suppressed the feminine energy inside of you, it still exists. So what are you doing now to sort of live out your whole truth and make up for lost time?
Yeah, great question. I think one thing I've been ruminating on lately is like all the ways that, like, my visceral response, which is probably like a natural tendency, was to sort of suppress all of my masculine energy in an effort to, like, explore all that feminine energy. And now I'm kind of trying to just accept it all for what it is and take it as it comes. But yeah, I started wearing makeup, which is something I really liked to do when I was a teenager and had kind of gotten away from. And just wearing clothes branded for women. I liked the way they fit better. I liked the way they accented my body better. And especially, like, just exploring more emotional vulnerability. Leading into that.
So tell me about your life now. You're married. You have a toddler. How is this all working out? The whole coming out thing.
It was going well. It's really I lost some friends in the transitioning process, and I've always been a bit. I'm pretty outspoken politically and always kind of a bit of a weirdo, which is why I think I identify with the term queer really strongly. And so, I don't think anybody was, like, necessarily shocked by it, but it is, like, a weird thing to get used to for people. And I know that there were folks that, like, I don't know, it's just a bridge too far for some folks. And so experiencing some kind of, like, degrees of bigotry has been really jarring as somebody who had a lifetime of, like, perceivably straight, cis, white, male privilege, to kind of step out of that and immediately sort of experience trans misogyny and those sorts of things was, other queer people are just like, people are the worst. Why are you shocked by this?
People are the worst.
People really, like, they also are the best. No, you're absolutely true. The queer community that I've been surrounded by, especially in the world of country and Americana music, has been really, really embracing and really, really supportive and sweet. And without it, I don't think I would have been able to come out or really explore that for myself. People always think it's, like, really confusing for my kid, but it is not confusing for my kid. My kid is a very elastic understanding of gender.
When they're that young, they don't, they haven't been programmed to be bigoted yet. Right.
No, that's exactly it.
Deal.
Yeah, people, I see a lot of that sentiment. People who have, like, grown up cisgendered, never, like, explored it, never considered their gender identity or anything like that espouse these views that like having trans people around their kids or queer people around their kids is like dangerous because of the competing signals that it sends in. It's like, I mean, it's no more confusing than having heterosexual people talk about their, marriages or anything like that. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I remember my dad telling me he wanted me to let my kid be a boy. Because my child was AMAB, and my dad was like, yeah, I just want to make sure that you're going to let him be a boy. And I was like, Dad, like, my kid can be whatever they want to be. You know, like what you're saying is you want me to condition my kid to like the same terms of masculinity that you conditioned me to, you know, and that's the frustration, is that what is perceived as like me forcing a narrative on my kid is actually me freeing my kid from the narratives that society is like commonly forcing on kids, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I had my own experiences as an asexual. It's not exactly quite as noticeable,
Right.
as transitioning, but, personally, when I came out, everyone was like, "Oh no, you'll find someone." You're, So,
right.
then, people are weird, but I sort of said all through my childhood, "Oh, I'm not gonna get married. No, I'm good." So, just let the kid be the kid, because eventually they're gonna be the kid. They're gonna be themselves by the time they grow up. You might as well not delay it.
No, I love that. I love that you knew yourself so well from like such a young age.
So, you say you've changed your name a few times along the way in the album. How did you settle on Adeem?
I grew up really religious. I grew up in the like conservative Christian faith. Well, I say that, but it was also like I was wrapped up in some mysticism and some charismatic movement and some of that stuff too. So kind of a hodgepodge of different characteristic Protestant Christian movement. And so the name Adeem came from, I mean, just pure ignorance, honestly. I'm a redneck kid from Charlotte. And I was reading, I guess, like, maybe I was reading something online, and it was like the scriptures, and Adam had been changed to Adim, which is Adem, just because it was like, some sort of Islamic source that I was reading on Sufi mysticism. And I don't know, I went through a series of re-examining my life, and I went by Adam up to that point. And so I thought the name was pronounced Adeem. So I felt like God was giving me the name back then, but I don't know if that's true anymore. I just have had the name too long now to part with it. I don't feel like an Adam, that's for sure.
So, what does it feel like to sort of reclaim your name and be called something that feels more fitting to you?
Yeah, it's nice. My dad named me Kyle after Kyle Petty, the NASCAR driver. And Adam was my middle name. That was the one my mom gave me. She wanted me to have a religious name. She opened the Bible and she was like, this one will do. She didn't give very far. And so I was Kyle Adam, and then in the third grade we moved across from one side of Charlotte to the other. And my dad was like, you can make a whole new name for yourself. And I misunderstood him. I was like, all right, I'm going by Adam now. So I went by Adam for a long time. And then changing it to Adeem was really significant. My parents are they always tried their best to do right by us. But they, didn't have a lot of, they didn't have a strong relationship with their parents that was very healthy or communicative. And so they were both enduring a lot of generational trauma and abuse and trying to correct those sort of as best as they were capable of. And so, we endured a good deal of abuse, especially due to my mom's mental illness. And so, changing my name was a big, was a big deal for me because my parents kind of, they were really big, and this is maybe something everybody experienced to some degree. My parents had a view of the world that they were kind of feeding me. They were like giving me the narrative of existence. And when I decided I didn't agree with that narrative anymore, it became really important that I assert, like, I know what you tell me the world is, but I have to trust myself to see what the world is. And it was a very different world than what my parents saw. And so giving myself my own name in a lot of ways meant saying, like, I'm not who you tell me I am, and I don't have to live the life that you tell me I have to live. It means I am who I am. I get to decide the terms of my identity and where I go from here.
That is beautiful. So, a machine that turns shame into celebration. There are millions of queer kids across the world who could really use one of those. What do you think such a machine would look like?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I've thought a lot about this.
Trying to build it?
About how to build it. I think in some ways, I think one thing that I think is true is I think that creativity plays an important role, which is a big part of why you can hear the engine revving up at the end of the album. That's very much me being cognizant of the fact that the sheer creation of something so introspective and self-reflective is part of the work to build that machine. I also think that we have a tendency as people, I know I do, I think probably most people do, to not be very gracious with ourselves. When we look back on ourselves, we view things through the lens of hindsight, which includes, we learn all this stuff as we go all the time, and then we look back and judge ourselves against all the things we know now and wish we would have behaved differently. I think being able to meet sort of the child that you were, the teen that you were, the young adult that you were, and to meet those versions of yourself internally without that lens of criticism and aggression, because it seems like an external sort of thing, like when you're judging somebody else, but it's not. It's an internal thing. It's a self-inflicted wound. And I think when you're able to meet yourself in those ways and sort of give yourself the compassion that you needed in those moments, that's it. That's the pivot. That's turning the shame into celebration, I think, to some extent.
All right, let's hear that engine revving. We'll play Reclaim My Name. We'll play another song, and we'll be right back.